Hi, welcome to 2020 Tasty Treats house block sampler, house sampler blocks. So we're doing a whole series of blocks that we're setting into houses like this, and here's a diagram of the blocks all done. And we've been very busy making blocks. We're almost through. There's 20 to make all together, and this time we're on to block 18. So that's pretty exciting. So this is the block 18 here. I'll be doing it with a different colour surround, so the yellow will show up a little bit better on my one I'm making today. So if you've signed up on GourmetQuilter.com to receive the pattern, you'll have received a page like this, and it just shows you how to make the blocks, tells you what sizes to cut the pieces. So I've gone ahead and cut all the pieces according to the pattern, and now we're going to make this block. So I'm using this light grey as a sort of background colour in the blocks, and so I've gone ahead and I've marked, we need two of these squares, and we need to mark the diagonal line on them. Now we're not stitching on that line, we're stitching either side. We've done this before in another block. So we're going to lay those right sides together with the next fabric B, and we're going to stitch 1/4 inch away from that drawn line on each side. So 2 rows of stitching on each one of these. So if you have a 1/4 inch foot, that's really helpful, because you can just line it up with that drawn line and it will sew just exactly where you want it to. So I'll go ahead and do all this stitching, and then I can cut them apart and show you the next bit. So I've gone ahead and cut my squares that I've stitched either side, so I cut on that diagonal line that I drew, and I'm just pressing them now. I'm just pressing them all into the darker colour, and then we're going to make the next units with these and these other squares that we've got. So what we need to do on the back of these squares is mark a diagonal line again. So I'm placing mine so that my light background colour is at the top each time. And we're going to stitch right on the diagonal line this time, and we don't need this half, so I'm just going to mark so I can sew a double line and use that for something else. And then we need to place these onto these other fabric squares. Now these are smaller because we've taken in that seam allowance, but that's okay because we will be trimming the whole thing down a little bit afterwards. So you just want to centre it on there so that it's sitting nicely. So a diagonal line right across that line that we've stitched. If you're saving the other pieces, then do a second line 1/2 inch away, and then they just need to be stitched on that diagonal line, and that's then going to give us this nice unit here, and we want 4 exactly the same. So if we had used the other half, we actually would have it going the other way. The colours would be in the wrong place. So that's the reason for doing 4 separate ones and trimming off that half so that we get it right. We want 4 going the same way, because this particular block is like a pinwheel type block, and it looks like it's spinning around, so it wouldn't be a lot of fun if we had the other colours swapped. That's why we get it round the right way. So I'll go ahead and stitch these and trim them up, and then show you how they all go together. So I've gone ahead and cut my squares, trimmed off the corners that we don't need, and I'm just pressing this last one because I've actually gone ahead and done some of the trimming, but I'll show you on this one. So in this case the yellow square was larger than the one that we were sewing on, and so it's sticking out a little bit more, but we need to trim these so that everything fits together to make the block up now. So I'm just going to place my ruler on with my diagonal line, and I'm just going to trim, so not a lot to trim from the 2 coloured half, but there's more to trim from this one here. So I'm just going to trim off that piece of the yellow, and it's just a little whisker and those little corners off that one, and I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on this side. So lining the ruler up with the cut edges and the diagonal. As you can see, there's considerably more of that yellow colour to trim again, and just a little tiny whisker off that side of that coloured bit, and that's because we had a larger square, because that's the way we had pieced it. So I've actually now gone ahead and done all my trimming, so I've got my block ready to lay out. So I'm going to lay them so that we can sew them together so that we get that spinning pinwheel effect. And we want this one around that way, and we want this one around that way. And so you can see that that's happening beautifully. We now need to sew them together into pairs so that we can then press them and stitch them together. So what we end up doing, we can actually sew together 2 pairs exactly the same, because when we've done that second pair we can turn it and it'll work that way. So if we do it this way and press the seams the same way, when we turn it round the seams will then be in opposite directions so that we can nestle them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I've sewn the patches together, the 2 halves, and I'm just going to press that centre seam open because there's a lot of bulk in the centre there where all those points meet, and it will just help it sit a little bit flatter. I've just got to make sure we don't open up any of these other seams at the same time. So just press those ones open is my suggestion, so that it's a little bit flatter in that centre there where all those little points are meeting, we hope. They're doing pretty well. So there's the block, but now it needs to be set into its frame, or the walls of the houses. So I just need to put the sides on and the top and bottom, and then that block will be done as well. We're doing so well with these blocks. So I'll go ahead and do those and show it to you when it's finished. So I've finished putting the frame on. You must be getting used to seeing this part by now. It's always exciting there to have finished another block. So there's a block with a little pinwheel in it, looking remarkably like that, but better with the darker frame, I have to say. It sets that yellow pinwheel off much better, those blades in the pinwheel. So that's block 18 done, so we've just got a couple more to go. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again for block 19.